All right, so I'm Stephanie Rierick with Dane County Time Bank and Mutual Aid Networks, and things are good here in Madison, Wisconsin, and we are going to talk about or we're going to be working together to create a checklist for beginning a new Mutual Aid Network pilot site. Chris, and check in.
I'm Chris Petit from Oak Park outside of Chicago, coordinator for Mutual Aid Networks. Things are going well. Glad to be with you.
Thank you. Kurt. All right, until we have Kurt, Scott.
Hi everyone, I'm Scott Murto from Lansing, Michigan. I've been working with Stephanie and the Mutual Aid Network for a year and a half or so now, I guess.
Right.
We're building the Mid-Michigan Mutual Aid Network in Mid-Michigan.
Great. Thank you. Anyone with us that has not introduced yet? Okay. So maybe if it's good for you all, we could just start by brainstorming right here on this list in Google Docs and just throw out we can get messy with it if we want to, what we can talk about, what kind of format, what kind of detail, and just throw out what we know happens for starting a mutual aid network. And I just thought we could start this and identify kind of where we are right now and what we need to do to get where we want to be. Any other suggestions? Should we head down this path or try something different? Okay, so I'm just going to start going through this, and I just started throwing some thoughts out because especially Keith in Bear Neck wants to, he actually has done a lot of things that are really similar to what we would do to establish a time bank or I think a mutual aid network, but is looking for some structure to see how it fits as a mutual aid network pilot site. So I just started writing out some thoughts. So this isn't in a checklist, this isn't in a checklist format right here, but who is your core group and why? Some MANs really are beginning with a single person's vision, or I guess a lot of things begin with someone starting to talk to someone else. But the way I see it is you don't really feel like you're starting to launch something until you have a little group of people around you who also want to do that. I don't know if that's an accurate reflection. I feel it reflects what we hear from the people who are still looking to establish their core group. Do you guys have thoughts on this? Thoughts of it as a number one, and thoughts about how we would express this?
Well, I think it starts even before that. I mean, generally it's like, okay, someone really is inspired by the idea or feels the need for change to happen in the community, and then creating a meeting of people that are interested, and then from that meeting presenting ideas and starting discussion and getting a little bit of an idea of like who's interested in going deeper, and then then there's more, like at least one more meeting, if not more, like a series of meetings of figuring out ideas about like what people want to do moving forward, and then there's the issues of like time and capacity and those sorts of things, and then from that seems to emerge the core group, in my opinion.
Okay, so do you see how I'm typing it? I'm saying to establish core group, host meetings, exploratory, and then we could go into other additional meetings, and then I have established goals, and then we'd host different kinds of gatherings. Does that seem to reflect what you're saying?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And as we do this, I'm also, oops, I need a different tab. As we do registering places where there are tools, and that's something that I want to do ultimately, but in this tools for time bankers is super outdated, but we shared some of the things that we did, which are really just like this, hosting the exploratory meetings, which had a particular type of agenda, and we have somewhere laid out what the agenda was for those exploratory meetings, and then going into goal setting meetings with a different type of invitation list, a different type of agenda, different type of facilitation. So I'm hoping, I'm not just hoping, I know that at some point we'll have, when we have our checklist, we'll have links into lots of different resources so people can pursue those courses of action. And we just had someone else join. Oh, Barry, hello. I don't know if you have audio yet.
Hi, Stephanie.
Hello. So we're just jumping in. Would you like to say a quick check-in for the rest of the group?
Hi, my name is Barry Corin. I'm in Chicago. I'm in the Chicago area in Oak Park, and focusing on building community on the west side of Chicago, and in the Oak Park area, using time exchanges as a central part.
Great, thank you. And do you see on your screen the other people with us? Or not, because you were...
looking attendees. Yes.
Okay, great. I just want to, sometimes it's nice to know how many people you're talking to in here. Okay, so we are just going through sort of the quick and dirty checklist about establishing pilot sites, and we're creating this together. And then as we are ready, we will start plugging some of this into a project form in the main man to show how that happens. And we will be done on the hour at 11 Central. So we're going to get as far as we can today. And this is just to get this ball rolling and continue to refine it. So for the first couple steps, we have establishing your core group. So how you would talk with people about getting together a mutual aid network pilot site. And we know that we need to create some guidelines about hosting exploratory meetings, and we link to possible agendas. I know when we were doing exploratory meetings about the time bank, it was super helpful for us to show some videos of some time banks in action. And so we need to make sure we have good materials. So we need good videos and handouts. And then establish goals, different kinds of gatherings, different kinds of, I should put invitation lists and guides for outreach for all these too. And as you think of things that we need to support people doing this, throw them out. So then establish goals and vision for how a mutual aid network framework could meet those goals. So those would be additional activities, probably at some of the same goal setting gatherings, maybe a little bit later into that process. Ideas about how and when this happens. Okay, I'm just going to say visioning exercises to follow goal setting exercises. So that would be like a parent's project, kind of, according to the Wezer structure. Are you guys?
Yep, it sounds good.
With me? Okay. Identifying assets and needs. Again, it's a different kind of activity. So I see like some of these are subsets of others, so this is a weird way to organize it as I'm typing it, and this is just what I'm doing to throw out the ideas, and then you guys can help figure out how to organize it. We have a lot of asset and need mapping exercises and tools, and I would see this happening right alongside. Maybe you would have one or two gatherings where you're only talking goal setting, but likely not, I'm thinking. And again, these are really similar. All of these so far, we do all these exercises in time banking and have begun doing them in a mutual aid network context. And really the main thing that happens differently right now is we sort of flag the resources that are hard to obtain through time banking, which often isn't that big of a percentage of the resources you need, because I think we have all experienced in a lot of projects, human effort is the number one thing that's needed. And it's the materials that end up being trickier with time banking. Some of them we can do and some we can't. So identify assets and needs, and I'll say link to time banking exercises, modify to include, or to, I'm going to say to identify resources not less available through time. And I want to throw out here, I think it would be really helpful for us to create some sort of basic kinds of categorization of sort of essential kinds of things that would help us tease out like what would be a good way to exchange for certain types of things. So an example is some of us in mutual aid networks have talked about introducing a type of mutual credit called the Many, M-A-N-Y, where we could just say, I'll give you this many types of a unit. So we could do something like, if we could boil it down into a few basic categories, we might find some ways that it's pretty easy to apply assets and needs and pretty easy to exchange. So for example, maybe X many miles, X many meals, X many nights of a stay. You know what I mean? To kind of boil it down into some essential types of services that make it sort of easier for people to assign their own value to it and exchange based on the value they feel those things have. Does that make some sense?
So are you in effect talking about another kind of currency like hours versus dollars versus gold versus man?
Exactly. It's just a unit of measure for a price-based mutual credit. So we would have like a dollar-denominated mutual credit for things where you just want to put a price on it, but a type of mutual credit that just really represents the kind of thing being exchanged and is very.
What are the implications in regard to tax?
Well, that's something that you would need to probably come to the sort of the average dollar value for those things and pay taxes, most likely. So that would be something. This is not the topic at hand. The intention of networks is to do, just to be clear though, we are creating this thing to do the taxes correctly. So if something, that's something that we would bet. And if that's like bartering something that has a dollar price, so I know that it would be considered taxable by the IRS. So you would do it like a business barter system in terms of taxing. But in the meantime, what I'm meaning to say is I think we need some basic guidelines so people have an easy-ish time understanding what kind of exchange thing would be most appropriate for what kind of resource. So say we're doing our asset and need map, and our goal is to create a food forest. One of the needs that we have is land. So we're doing our asset and need map, and we're looking first at what we can do through sharing and time banking, because we always start at the lower levels of the food chain, so to speak, or the greater levels of abundance. But then when we get to things like land and equipment, it fits less neatly with those things. So maybe we could get land through a shared resource. Maybe we can do a mutual credit exchange for land, like what I'm talking about, like X many acres, and throw it into a broad resource bank. Maybe we can only obtain the land through buying it for money, and so then we would turn to our savings pool. Maybe we wouldn't be able to do it through a savings pool, and then we would turn to old school style fundraising. But sort of like the framework that we've been we set up in the video, like going first for what's most abundant, what's most in the commons. But as you get more removed from being able to do that, then you go into your other tools that get closer to money, and then become money. But if we can have some nice simple way for people to kind of flag that when you're doing an asset and need map, then it helps make it clear sort of where you need to go beyond the sharing and time making. Does that make sense? Does anyone feel that there's something really flawed about trying to make some broad categories for types of resources?
I think it's useful for suggestions. So like, use cases, where people would have examples of how to use things. But I think it's also useful to give people options, and really allow them to experiment. So
Yeah. Cool.
And to just kind of, encourage people to look at assets in a broader way, include some type of measurement of our social capital
Yeah.
in terms of, and there are ways to quantify that actually, because that really is our biggest strength is in our social networks, and just to make an attempt to quantify that in some ways useful, I think.
Yeah, that's cool. You know what I'm thinking might be good? I think I'll move this into its own Google Doc just because I happen to put it just with this like many years of meeting notes and nowhere else to put it. Um, what I was thinking could be good is if we sort of mess with this together and each put links to, I think maybe we can make a comment on each of these and each put our own links that we think would be good supporting materials. Because I've already referred to some of our time banking tools, and Scott, you just referred to those measurements, and that might be a way that we can get farther on this faster than if
Sure.
we if
Yeah. Well, I just meant to put it as an item, and also skills and experience, skill sets. I mean, those are assets. Every community has, vast amount of experience and skills that people have, and to quantify that and just list it down is really empowering to people.
Yeah, that's great.
When they, it's like, oh my God, I didn't realize we had, all these people that know all these different things, and
Yeah, totally.
That's just as, if not more important than, equipment and financial
Oh,
stuff.
absolutely. I am completely with you. Now let's see. Do other people have things that you're thinking you would want to put in here? Links to different resources that have been helpful to you? I'm just sharing this with everyone, so if and when you think of something, you're welcome to go pop it on here or look at what other people are putting on. Thinking about everyone right now. I'll add, so I'll have to keep adding more people later, but I won't take your time with it right now. Okay, so you all can edit this list, and I'll add some links there too. Great. So measurements of social capital, skills, and experience. And I would say, yes, Scott, anything, if one of the links turns out to be too technical or something that doesn't, for any of us, that doesn't seem quite right later, I figure this is like our draft. This is our brainstorm, so we can collect all the ideas and then sort of sift through it. And I've always imagined this project as being is like helping to sort of tease out what the active participants are seeing as best practices and offer that up first and have all the evaluation tools so we can keep sort of sifting that upward. So the time banking knowledge commons is really made to be super broad and anyone can post anything, and that's really awesome because you can use your discretion and go poke around, and we want something that just makes it a little bit more like we're trying to help guide people in a particular way. Like my vision has always been like create a structure where we have a reason to support and guide each other into the best possible ways of doing this that we can learn of. And to me, best means things like being inclusive, having attention toward equity and social justice, and um, being a generative kind of process. So,
Yep. Beautiful. Beautiful.
all right. So what I had on my next step is to start time banking. Once we've done the assets and needs map and what can happen to work toward our goals, to just start playing with time banking. Um, and actually, I'm gonna say play with it, because at the very beginning of a project, it takes a little time to crank into just doing the project. Although, in my opinion, the sooner you get into some group activities toward a common goal, the more quickly you get some action going. Um, so that's my suggestion, and that's how this is really how we've begun, starting with 10 years in the time banking thing before we're moving into other areas. So we hope to condense that timeline for other manned pilots. Um, but for example, with our youth court, we started basic neighbor to neighbor time banking and hired people for time make hours to make the outreach meal and things like that, so people could start getting practice with it, and then we could have a resource base that is clearly identified to begin the actual project. Does anybody want to throw anything in here? If you do or don't have experience with time banking, either way, and if you have a perspective on this, is if this is a good thing to do at this juncture, if there are reasons to shift things around from how I've.
What you just mentioned a moment ago about that experience you had in first starting it up, Stephanie,
Yep.
seems to me to be very valuable. Stories about, especially the beginning.
Yeah.
It seems to me tougher to lay out a framework that's comprehensive enough to map how to get there in the future. And I know that's what you're doing, and and I'm personally I'm picking up bits and pieces that I can use because you have such a wealth of experience with it.
So what do you mean about comprehensive enough? Like detailed or? Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
it feels almost like we're doing Wikipedia type uh, section on time banking, where many people can add to our knowledge as experience develops.
Yeah, so I think yes. I mean, this is intended to create a big resource repository. There is the time making knowledge commons. Tim Dalton is still working on like building sort of a bigger, more comprehensive knowledge commons than just time making, and I think that's where a lot of our stuff will live. And if people continue to want to do it this way, if we figure out a good way to pull it off, it has been a long stated goal of this group since the very beginning of this project 5 years ago, to make to make to make some sort of system, like sort of peer review kind of system or some, and connect the evaluation tools in, so we can identify the things that tend to work best under certain conditions. So we had always talked about what works best under what local conditions, and and this is partly why I'm saying that people in the group start posting what you think are the really good materials. You can point to the knowledge commons for everything that people are sharing about time banking, but I tend to prefer to point to the few tools that we have found that we really like. And but I don't want it to be just like subjective, like we found these that we really like. I want to build in a piece of what we're doing in our resource sharing, or our information sharing, a piece that helps the evaluation stick with it and people's commentaries stick with it. And so you might go to one page that has a few points to a few things, and then from there you can find the thing that is the whole wiki. You know what I'm saying? So, um, yes, I mean, I don't think we'll ever be able to like spell out everything that happens because everything needs to be an organic process, but people need to kind of get a little guidance if they've never started something like this before. So we're just trying to
So
provide enough.
in a way, we're developing a curriculum
Yeah,
for learning um, learning how to time bank and how to establish a time bank community,
yeah,
and
pretty
how
much.
communities then can link together
Hmm.
to form a network.
Yeah, it's helpful to put it as a curriculum. I like that. Um, okay, so should we go to should we go into the next steps? Does anybody else want to say anything about this time banking piece?
Well, one thing that's been very useful to me is um, I've watched a bunch of your videos, Stephanie, and
Mhm.
one that um, that has been particularly valuable to me in the work I'm doing on the west side of Chicago, which is a very impoverished, challenging situation that people are faced with. But on the other hand, people are really hungry, I think, for something that would work. Um, and um, the You had an organizer present how she organized the restorative justice
Yep.
project in Oakland, in that little neighborhood. So
Yes.
that was very useful, and those are the kind of anecdotes that I think would be um, very helpful. Kind of, I uh, um, what I understand MBA programs do is they do, they take situations, you know, business situations, and you know, develop them or tell
Yeah.
stories about. I wonder whether that would be helpful as models for for how we could um, further communicate how, build up
Yes.
time banking.
So I just pasted in share videos and stories of how others have begun projects, but do you mean also get the information about how they've begun the projects and share it?
Well, for me, the startups are really, given that uh, um, I'm working on so many startups right now of different, what I'm doing is working with um, a number of organizations. And for each one, it's like a new time bank with the intention that when appropriate, we would link them together since we're all using the same time bank and the same unit, which is ours.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you do you have materials from those?
Well, it's unfolding,
Pardon?
and
What did you?
um, the whole situation is building and unfolding, and I'm getting
Okay.
clearer conceptions of how this really is working. What
Great.
came to me this morning was the concept of um, building tribes
Uh,
uh, with,
so I'm going
within.
to ask you as you go through
Pardon
those
me.
things. Pardon?
I'm sorry, I missed what you said.
Just as you find, I mean, it's unfolding for all of us, which is why it's tricky to create a checklist. Is
Yeah.
really right now a time bank, and we're just moving into the other parts. So we've done some of the visioning about the other components of mutual aid networks, and now we have to go about creating them, and so we'll have to make that checklist as we go. So as yours are unfolding, and it's great that you're part of several efforts doing similar things, because chances are there are a lot of different little variations in how each one happens, and so you're maybe able to observe some of the things that you are seeing that work well or get new ideas. So if you can be sharing stuff on this document as you have things, that's great. And eventually we'll have a different, occasionally we'll have, or I mean, eventually we'll have a better format to put this into. And Julian is with us now, so soon we will get to putting it into that format. So I think what we'll do is we just have a few more steps here. And if we can just throw out our ideas for those steps, then maybe we can just plug them into a project format in Wezer quickly. And within the next 25 minutes, I think we could have sort of a basic, quick and dirty checklist for us to flesh out later. Do you guys feel like we can do it that way? Okay. Hearing nothing, I'll just say yes.
For me.
Sounds
Okay.
good.
Yep.
All right. So we have start time banking, and I linked to the tools for time bankers page, play with it, have group activities. And then for number 6, I put pay hours from the project for all the time going into it. Oh, I guess first that means you set up a project. Set up a project page, if we call it that, and accounts in man.wezer.org. or your own time bank. And then in the way we have construed things in Dane County Time Bank and the way we've talked about stuff in mutual aid networks, we create a project account, and the project pays for itself in time. So all the amount of time that people put into creating and maintaining a project is paid by the project, and that's how hours are really generated in an economy that's generating activity and work and value, and it's a way to sort of grease wheels for people exchanging. Does anyone want to say anything counter to this? Or it's not the approach that every time bank takes. It is kind of fundamental to some of our philosophy about how time banking needs to be modified to value the commons and facilitate rebuilding a commons. So it's been pretty integral to our approach the whole time, but I also realize we have a lot of people now who are participating who haven't participated the whole time, and I want to know if people have reservations about that approach or anything like that. So the approach is the project pays hours for the time needed to create it and keep it going.
That sounds great to me.
So we're going to experiment with that until we see a compelling reason not to, which I just don't expect to see, but we'll find out. And that's another part of mutual aid networks. Core to it is we are interested in evaluating ourselves so we can continually improve. So we won't be afraid of trying something and having it not work. We'll just be sad if we think it's particularly cool. All right. So the next one, use robust budgeting tools to create budget.
Stephanie,
Sorry?
can I ask you a question?
Yep.
So about paying, the issue you just raised about paying hours, I love that possibility, and I'm hoping it will work. And so
it's worked for 10 years very well, actually. But go ahead.
Pardon me?
It's worked here for 10 years.
But you're at a much more advanced stage, and I'm at the beginning stage. And
we're at the beginning though.
Pardon me?
We were at the beginning stage at our beginning.
That's true.
I mean, that's one reason.
Did it work then?
Yeah, it's really how, I mean, we started with the neighbor to neighbor time bank, and then a year in started the youth court. And yeah, it's been quite helpful for, and we've always talked about it, or not always, but we talk about it as applied time. But it appeals to
something.
All right.
So let's say I work with a dozen youth who are re-entering the community, and I pay them to do work in hours.
Mm-hmm.
How will they cash it in? Because
Through other people.
they're going to be
The,
very, in the moment, I think, and
so
pay
this is
very
gonna, yeah, I'm gonna get off of this
well.
topic right now. Send
Okay.
you into some time banking tools. It's always a question. I mean, this is why we had to create more circular situations. Any mutual credit only has the value that its members bring to it, which is why you have to build something as a circle, sort of, and it matters a lot,
Okay.
the diversity of resources you're bringing into the network. So, and that's all going to have to be fundamental stuff in the how-to materials about how to get this going. You need a circuit of mutual credit, and that's the only way it ever works.
Thank you. That
So,
was very helpful.
cool, thanks. So then use robust budgeting tools to create a budget for projects and individual budgets for participants. We're working on creating those, and then we would link into that. Any objections to that as a next step? And that will help us see how much we can do in the commons and in time banking and what we need. More sort of, I don't know, I want to say sophisticated, but more kind of refined or other kinds of economic tools beyond that. So then organize and adopt mutual aid network legal structure if desired, and I'm going to flag that we would want to create a guide to various legal structures, where and why, so people can sort of have a good sense of what they need. And I'm going to suggest, we've talked this way a lot, but I want to suggest explicitly similar to the economic tools where we go to the ones based in abundance first. I think that we would be wise to be always looking for the minimal structure needed and guidelines for that. For example, if there's no reason to incorporate, you don't necessarily need to incorporate at all. If your time banking is doing everything it needs to do, you don't need to add a savings pool. So any of those things to just sort of help people identify, like, what do you actually need, and then how you could get it easily. So any feelings against that? Okay, so I'm going to say guide toward minimal structure needed and offer the legal documents and instructions. Places to find technical assistance. And everything about the main man is going to be places to find technical assistance, I believe. And then open a savings pool account if and when it's necessary. So we need a basic guide, first of all, what different models of them, when and why you'd needed, policies, template agreements, legal considerations. It's kind of nice typing some of these because we have gotten a lot of this information, at least some basics that we could have people go on. We got a lot of this together at our summit, and so it's kind of nice to see that we have some seeds for all these things. Determine goal for a savings pool. Is that going to be something more like a facilitation process? I guess template agreements. Yeah, I guess you determine the goal for a savings pool before you open the savings pool account. So I'm just going to put these in together. Anyhow, should we go on, and I'll just move this into something different. I don't know exactly what, but should we go ahead and put this into Wezer?
I think it's a good start.
Yeah. Can you also add it to that Google Doc?
Which Google Doc? I'm putting it in a.
I thought you pasted the first part into a Google Doc.
The whole thing is still in this Google Doc. That's where I'm working right now, is in the same Google Doc.
Oh, okay, great, great, great.
Yeah. All right. So, hi, Julian. I don't have anyone else who's joined us. So shall we?
Hello, everyone.
Hi. How are you?
Yeah, good. Sorry for being late.
That's okay. So we just made this kind of checklist for a pilot project, and we were talking about putting it into project form here in Wezer. And so I'm pulling that up. I think everyone can still see my screen. So a couple questions, or I guess one question to start. There's a lot of noise coming from one place that I can't tell. It's a phone. I think maybe it's yours. Here, if you could mute yourself, or okay, I think got better. So do you guys have suggestions about which project we put this in?
Why don't you put it in the Madison one since that's the one you're working on? Does that make sense?
Well,
Or you
no,
can make a template project.
yeah, that's good. Okay, so we'll create a template project. That sound okay? I think that makes sense. I mean, I could see the Madison one. If we were doing a social justice, I really need I'm gonna have to mute everyone unless one of the phone callers mutes himself. There's a lot of noise coming from either Scott or Barry. Seems to be getting a little bit better. Okay. Yeah, the only reason I don't want to do it for Allied Co-op is that's been going through a years-long process, and there's so much more detail and different kind of stuff to put in there than this. So, are people okay with creating a template project? Okay, phone caller. Okay. I'm going to mute everyone because I don't have a way to mute individual phones. Okay.
Muted.
So, sorry, let me know if you want to talk. Just type something in the chat. Or I'm just starting to do this, but if someone else wants to be creating this, you're welcome to. Okay, so project name, man, pilot, template.
Unmuted.
Everyone muted because I want to hear what.
Muted.
Oh, okay.
Unmuted.
Is that okay for a name? You're unmuted now.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay. All right. So, and then some of you were on the call yesterday when we were going through how to use these projects, and some of you weren't. So hopefully you're seeing what I'm doing. I'm logged in at wezer.org, and I went over to the website part and found projects. I created this new project. So, and then we're going to put these tasks on it as a checklist. We need a manager of the project. Is it always just one manager?
Sorry, is there any?
Yeah.
It's only one manager? Yeah, that's what you asked.
So you are saying yes?
Yes.
Okay. So who should be the manager of the pilot template? Should I just be it for now since I'm filling it in, or does it matter?
Sure, you can be it.
Okay. And then team, should we put one of our groups as a team? We could have it be the social work group or the working board. The social work group might be a group to pull this together. It is the one that's focused on pilot sites. So should we say the social work group is the team?
Yes.
Okay, we'll do it for now. We don't really have a customer, or
No.
do we?
No, we don't. No, we don't need that.
Okay. So, and we'll just have an email alias of pilot@main.weezer.org. Is that all
Why don't you use like pilot temp or something because we'll probably use the pilot uh, alias at some point for the pilot sites.
You think we'd have an alias for all the? Oh, I see. Yeah, I could see that. Okay. And other info, privacy, visibility. Should we make this an internal project? Anyone who's logged in? Barry, is there a way to mute your phone?
My phone,
Great.
my phone was muted.
Then is it Scott?
That could be me.
Okay. It just went quieter for a moment. It's a really sharp sound. That's part of why it's so distracting. Okay. So internal projects, or do we want it to be a public project for when those are visible?
Internal for now is fine, I guess.
Okay. So and let's put a currency for hours. Is that just HR?
No.
Is HR for hours?
Yeah, that's right.
No.
Isn't it?
Yeah, HA. Yeah, but the currency is man that is currently working.
Oh, we should have an hour currency currently working, right?
We do. It's HR.
Is there a problem with using HR? Julian, isn't that per hour?
No, it's okay.
Okay, cool. And the parents would be, what would the parent be?
Main man.
Projects? Main man? So what's the difference between the parent being main man and it being projects?
In the view, in the tree view, you will get under main man this template.
All right.
For
great.
pilot sites. Yeah.
Okay. So
then you get the project stages.
Yeah. Okay. Stages. Great.
Project stages. Yeah. The last thing.
So now.
So that's the one by default, but.
Yeah, this is really, I mean, I think actually this will be pretty helpful in this framework. So for the project stages now, do we go add the tasks here? Is there something we do with these? So when we add the tasks, will those show in here? Because we want to add. Did you say yes?
Sorry, it will be in the first stage, inspire. But are we going to use these names?
I think it's fine for now. I don't feel like we're ready to change the names because we don't know what people would want to change them to. So if that's all right. So should I go to add tasks now? What's the best place?
First, you can save it and just see that you can set as template. So when you create a new project, it will be like this, the same manager, the same things that you can write, so that you don't have to write them down every time. You can set as template.
Great.
You can set a project as template. Okay.
Oh, wonderful.
So now now you can save it and create task. I mean.
So if you scroll up, you'll see save as template.
Cool. So I wanted to do a time check to see, I had said we'd be done in 7 minutes. We can do 7 more minutes worth of stuff, but I feel like if we do 15 more minutes worth of stuff, we could get done. Do people want to stay on a few extra minutes and just try to get these entered?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Fine for me.
So where do so we want to take this list and put it in your format. So inspire and brainstorm. I mean, we have different inspire, brainstorm, take action. kind of steps. So what's the best way for me to start plugging them in as tasks?
Yeah, so right now just this one you can escape or discard, yeah,
Okay.
or save, I don't care. And
No.
you have to save the project first, yeah, and then you can create.
Oh, I see. Something about a company and
Yeah,
its currency. So is that hours and man thing that you were talking about? So
yeah,
we need.
I can add the hour for.
Did you say you're setting it at the hour?
I can do it, yeah.
Oh, that'd be great. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's the only thing we're really ready to play with right now. And then that would be something we could do too, if we knew how, if we remembered.
Sorry?
If we remembered how, that would be something we could do too, changing the currency for the company or adding another one.
Yeah, it's in companies, in the settings, companies, and configuration of the company. I just did it, so now if you save it, it should be okay.
Thank you. Wonderful. Okay, so now would I start creating tasks? Should I click on this thing to start making the tasks where it says tasks?
Yeah, sorry.
Tasks
Yeah.
under. Okay. All right. So create task summary. All right. So I'm going to start pasting. And let me know if it looks like. So establish core group is our first thing that we need to do, and then there are these different aspects: hosting meetings, linking, and then we would link to the supporting materials. So is this sort of granular enough to say establish core group, and then in the description would we add more, or would we add? Oh, I see. Maybe in the word. Anyhow, I'll stop saying that. How would we get more granular about the established core group, or would we like have more individual task
It's
cards?
better to put them in delegation.
Okay. Oh, okay. So here's the individual tasks. Okay.
Yeah, and
Oh, okay.
yeah,
So now
and delegated the tasks.
this is great. Okay, I think this makes. I'm just gonna do this for now, and I
It's
think
only one. Yeah, it's only one. It's in delegated task. Delegated task. It's
oh, okay. I can't put it in the parent.
not parent task. It will be no. Just quit this screen.
Okay.
Yeah, and put it in delegated task just under. Yeah, add an item, and then you click on create because it's not already been.
Yeah, I just keep doing it wrong.
Just
Sorry. I don't know. I don't see how to get to create. Do I have to
scroll
type it
under.
in?
Scroll under. Scroll. No. Scroll, and then.
Oh, I see.
Below.
Yeah.
Yeah. Create.
Sorry about that. Exploratory meetings. I'm just going to do this for now, just to fill in the sort of rough drafty. Does that seem okay for you guys?
That's fine.
Delegated task? Okay. And why would we not put any, we wouldn't put any parent task here, do you think?
No, we don't need that.
Okay. All right, so establish core group. All right, so then the next thing, save that. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, it's okay, yeah.
And it does seem like this.
You have to specify the project that's under?
Yes, it's better.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, thank you.
It's pilot
So
complete.
great, cool. Thank you, thank you. All right, is this okay for now? Is this enough for this one?
Yes,
Okay.
you don't need to put tags or no, that's okay. Yeah.
I think we should come back to those, but I just want to get this established a little bit so we can start yeah, just having some basic framework, and then we can flesh it out in there together later. All right, so I'm going to create the next task. Also in the brainstorm and inspire, I think, if you guys think so, which is establish goals. And again, pilot. And delegated tasks. I'll say this again. Oops. All right. If you're seeing anything put in the wrong place, let me know. Okay. Oh, I guess that's for another delegated task. So I don't think we have any others there. No. All right. I'm realizing that maybe I'll do one more of these with you guys here, and then after that, I feel like I'm kind of starting to waste your time just plugging this stuff in, and I don't mind just typing it in now that I feel like I'm starting to understand it. But what do you think? Is there anything that you want to do here while we're together before we end this call? Or are there things that you want to see as I continue down this path of creating more tasks?
Can we see what it looks like overall now as a project?
Yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
wanted.
Cool. Yeah, let me just get to the right part. All right. And for anyone who hasn't been using Wezer yet, to get to the project views, you don't go from here. You need to be logged in, and you go from this website thing on the left-hand side, and then click on project from the drop-down bar. Why that? Well, hang on. Here we are. Good. So, why don't I see it? Oh, here it is. Sorry about that. Oh, yeah, I keep doing that. Oh, here it is. So it opened the tasks. But I didn't click the right thing to view the project. So here's the... So here's the project itself.
That's a good start.
Yeah, and then I click the tasks. And then as I get the rest of these things plugged in, it'll be nice to have some of the tasks that get into a little bit farther in developments. So I think that we'll see a project that has a number of tasks, and then, I mean, like the range going into implementation. And then maybe next time, if you want to spend more time on this, or maybe we move this into a different work group, but we can go in and see how to make it, just see how it is to use, see if we want to prioritize anything like putting pictures in certain places, get a sense of how we link to documents and, joint workspaces and things like that. So I think what I would like to do is have a checkout round where you also say there are a couple of things for this learning series that we need to do. We might want to come back to this, or we might send this into a different realm of our work. It's up to all of us. We do need to come back to the robust budgeting part of the learning series. So want to check what you guys want, and if there are other things that you would like to suggest for the learning series. So yeah, let's go around and do a checkout that also includes your desires for this learning series in the near future, okay? So Chris, you want to start?
Sure. Thank you for all the work on this. It's looking good, and I think the robust budgeting piece is what interests me next. So
Okay,
forward to it.
cool. Barry?
Well, it's always good to be in on this because you have so much experience doing it. Um, what would what would be most helpful to me would be to have some time where we have roundtable discussion. Now, maybe that's at, I don't know whether that fits in with what you have in mind.
Oh, that's a
Uh,
great suggestion. Yeah, maybe we'd want to schedule a longer session for that. I think that'd be great. And people are always, anytime I've ever been to a time banking conference or hosted one, that's always something that people really appreciate. So we could add sort of regular roundtables if we wanted to. We could try one out as part of the learning series, but I appreciate the suggestion. Thank you. Cool. Julian?
With the learning series in Wezer, what I would like to do also is to simplify the processes. I mean, inside Wezer, we could easily erase fields, but that's not necessary. So I would like to get your feedbacks about that, and I could also participate in writing documents so that it could be useful for others, but they are not participating. Yeah? Hello?
I think it would be good to have a tech work group meeting where we do that simplifying together and just like really let people know ahead of time that's what we're going to be doing, since we've had a few conversations. That'd be great.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay.
Cool. Kurt? You there, Kurt? Kurt might be in and out doing other meetings. Scott?
Yeah, this is going to be super useful. As our team comes together here, we're going to be, sharing the workload, and for whoever is going to be managing, if it's not myself, and inputting data and maintaining our project here, I can just point right directly to this recording, and it'll be a step-by-step instruction that I'll just be able to say, this is how you do it, watch this recording, and it'll save a lot of time. So I'm really excited about this.
Great.
Great job. Thank you.
Thank you. And Kurt's sound isn't working, so I just typed in if he wants to type a checkout. And you can share, if you want to, what you want to do in future web learning series. And maybe you're typing and maybe you're not, but in the meantime, I'll just say, let's see, my calendar. The next one of these regularly scheduled would be January 6th, I think. Yeah. Is it the first and third? Yeah. So I think we'll go ahead and stick with that and come back to the robust budgeting. So I'll do my best to get the word out about that. And after that, at some point, we'll schedule a roundtable discussion. We'll put into the tech work group a time to simplify the Wezer views or interface and move forward in the documentation that Julian offered to write. And so I want to thank you all very much, and I'm really happy with the results of this exercise. It's fairly simple, but I believe it'll become really helpful. So thank you to everyone, and I look forward to connecting with you again in the future. And